Three. See? Maybe a little. I'm posing. No, 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 I'm getting my picture taken. I like the very pose.
Okay, did you all have a good break and a lovely time to network and chat? We're going to be starting the last session now. Okay, and we're going to be starting, and I'd like to welcome Shamim Kazar and Kerry Adams, and they're going to be talking about ALS M&D Chopped. I like that, chopped, helping find creative ways to modify food.
Okay, that was really important because we had to anticipate and wait for, what, 6 hours to do this talk?
Yep.
Breath stacking, breath stacking. I'm going to start by saying, of course, good afternoon and welcome back. We are on our last little stretch, aren't we? I'm really happy. We're both very happy to be here in person. Hello to everyone online. And for some reason, I've been thinking all day, I want to say, hi, Kenya. So my name is Kerry Adams, and I'm a speech pathologist. And this is?
And I'm Shamim Kazar, the dietitian with the clinic.
And we just want to say again, a little intro. It's a very, very marvelous event, and we're so appreciative of the connections that we've already been making here today. I have to do a special shout out, though, to Mr. Jamie from the ALS Hope Foundation in Philadelphia. Ooh, ooh. But now a little bit about us. And I've got to see if I know how to use this. I'm going to go like this. Yes. We are coming to you from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So that's all the way across this country on the west side. So it's about a 4-hour plane ride. And this is how we got here. We did not drive the 39 minutes or hours as it says on the map. We work in an outpatient clinic situated on the University of Alberta campus. And we've both been with the Edmonton ALS Clinic for about 18 years now. Yeah, we're old.
Speak for yourself.
And we're work wives, we tell ourselves that. We're very fortunate to have a collaborative team of about 20 clinicians, and our team really values the interdisciplinary model. So Shamim and I see patients together. We go in SLP RD, and then we also have the ability to see our patients in follow-ups outside of clinic. So our clinic is fortunate that we're located in this building when we do clinics, so we're all in one space, which is phenomenal for that collaboration. And then we're also on electronic medical record, and that just, is wonderful for enhancing the collaboration. All right, so enough about us. On to what we're really here for.
All right, let's do something fun. Let's take a poll. Raise of hands. Who thinks you can puree a hamburger? Okay.
Oh, this is pretty
Okay, that's pretty good. And what about a pizza? Okay, you're a very astute crowd. Okay, so remember these results. I'm going to get back to them in a little bit. So this is today's objective. So we're going to talk about, some of the barriers and challenges patients have with modifying diets, and then we're going to describe our hopefully interactive and fun workshop, and then discuss some potential barriers to implementing said workshop.
Okay. But what actually happened? How did we come to this? All the way back in 2010, we realized that there was a disconnect between what we were telling patients about modifying foods and what they were actually doing. They were struggling with that application. They had repetitive questioning regarding how to modify, and sometimes during home visits that I would do, I would really see the effects, be like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So we would sit there and wonder, well, why? Was there an overload of information that we were giving? Was it that they just took the handout and filed it away and forgot about it? Maybe they didn't really understand what puree or minced was supposed to look like. So that was our story. And we ran across a few barriers. I think we all know this. It's just this preconceived idea that puree is going to be disgusting and not very pretty, I guess. And then also we realized they weren't using the equipment properly, so they might use a food processor instead of a blender. And then there's also role reversal that often happens, right? Where the person who has ALS maybe was doing the preparation, and now it's the other person that has to do that preparation, and they're not used to that. One you brought up was adequate nutrition, that they were buying baby food and to kind of, do that puree in that regard, but that's not adequately nutritious, right? Is that how you say that? Yes. For adults. Why, thank you, speech therapist. So we decided, okay, we have a problem. So we were confused. This is really gross. This was a picture of my aunt's food about a month ago, okay? So this is happening in facilities. This is not what we are talking about. Don't look at that slide for too long. So we had an aha moment. We were like, what if we played in my kitchen and we took food and we tried to figure out for ourselves, what's this disconnect? What's wrong? So that's what we did. Okay, is this what's gonna happen? Is the video gonna come up? Uh-oh, uh-oh. Is there a video that comes?
Welcome to our pretend cooking show. We're gonna try pureeing foods today. First up, we're gonna do canned peas versus frozen peas. Look at the nice color.
I cannot say the same.
I need to add more liquid.
Yeah. I'm gonna try old school food coloring now. This could be a tonic green now.
Yeah, that's
better.
All right.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. I like the taste of that one better.
Yeah. The canned peas, ugh, but they puree so nicely, but that tastes great. That's good. Mm-hmm. All right. Cut.
Hey, now we're gonna do pancakes.
Like, that's good.
And then too much liquid.
Maybe just use like a little. Yeah, start with like a little bit.
Okay, let's see how this is.
Prize. I like looking at this.
Oh, yes.
one. There we go.
Cheers. Cheers.
2 Canadian pancakes. That would taste good. That was a good taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And texture-wise, it's good.
Nailed it. Cheers. Pretend that you have to remove the crust.
Yeah.
This is hot, which is a good thing. Whew. It needs to be warm when you're pureeing it. A little bit of that, I don't know. It needs like a little more juice.
Need some broth?
Let's try when it's not much liquid.
Okay.
Doesn't look very appetizing.
I guess we could say just because you can doesn't mean you should.
It's a little bit thick.
Now you're just tasting flavor. What does it mean?
It needs to be warmed up.
Yeah.
Actually, the flavor's really good. Okay, yeah, more
of this?
more of that.
Yeah. Pizza? Does it taste like pizza? Mm-hmm. And what's the texture like right now?
Like minced.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we got 1 can with 2 slices of pizza.
Yeah.
I think we might have nailed it. Ooh. Okay, it looks like tomato soup. It tastes amazing. I would say it tastes like pizza because there's quite a bit of cheese taste in here.
Oh, good.
Otherwise, it would taste like tomato soup. But
Yeah,
it
yeah.
tastes. Oops.
So I suppose you could always add more cheese if you wanted.
That's amazing. Nailed it.
Carrie and I love that video. Like, we've seen it 50,000 times. It's like, we're a bit narcissistic too, okay? Like, we love that video. And those pancakes, I still think about those pancakes. They were so good. They were so good. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. So a little poll that we took, yes, you can puree a hamburger, you can puree pizza. It just requires a little ingenuity and thinking outside the box. So after we did those experimentations, we realized, okay, it's not just dumping in a blender and pressing a button. You have to really think about, like, how do you make it taste really good? How do you make it visually appealing? How do you make it easy, right? So these are some of the things that we discovered. So one of the first things, and these things we do keep telling our patients, like the first time we did this was way back in 2010. And here we are in 2024, and we still say this to our patients. So one of the first things is temperature is really, really important. It blends much better when things are warm versus cold. Just think about just basic science. Fat congeals. It's really hard to blend when it's hard. And you may have to keep warming it up as it goes. The other big one was taste. Like, you know, a lot of people think, okay, we'll just add liquid, and they might think, okay, I'll just add water. Water's gonna dilute the taste, right? It's not gonna taste good. So you have to think, like, how can I match the liquid with whatever's in the blender? So we got really creative, like, you know, hamburger patty, think like beyond ketchup and mustard, like pickle juice is fantastic. Like beef broth, vegetable broth, like you really want the flavor to match whatever you're blending.
Which is why we use that V8 juice for the pizza, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you say it.
That's why we use the V8 juice in the pizza versus the broth, because the tomato would mimic the pizza sauce, right? And it was a ham and pineapple pizza, so we were like, yeah, let's throw some pineapple in here and see how it goes. And then appearance. Appearance is a really big one, right? Because we eat with our eyes. And this is probably one of the biggest barriers when it comes to pureed and modified diets, is that people have this visual of, let's be honest, hospital food, right? It's not the most visually appealing. So, you know, we always tell people, like, don't mix your foods. Like, it's tempting because it's easy and fast, but you don't want to mix your peas with your chicken or your beef, because you're going to get that picture that we showed you earlier in the presentation. So just being very mindful of trying to keep things separate and keeping them separate on the plate for visual appeal. So then after all of those, that experimentation, we were like, okay, well, like, what are we going to do with this information? And we're fun gals. we were like, okay, we're going to come up with a workshop. We're going to do an education piece. So we just came up with this really, what we consider a very fun and interactive workshop. So we're going to go into detail.
Okay, so what we did is we obviously invited patients to come. We had 10 to 12 is a good number for us. So the first thing that we did is brought them into a classroom type setting, and we did a 30-minute PowerPoint presentation. First little bit, I spoke about the normal swallow and then what happens, what are some typical signs and symptoms of dysphagia with ALS, how do you manage that, what happens with the swallow, so that they could begin to understand, oh, that's why she's telling me I need to thicken my liquids, or that's why I have to try something much more liquefied puree, such and such. And then Shamim reviews some of the challenging foods that our patients will typically tell us are bothersome, and then how to correct that and what type of diet modifications to do. And then interestingly, I think to us, we think that the next piece is much more fun, but the patients did like it, but they told us that they really enjoyed that education 30-minute session because it was just this one-on-one time to, well, 10 to 2, but whatever, to hear our news. So then after the presentation, we moved to our staff lounge, which is the AKA like kitchen, and we have a competition. So our purpose for all of that is to learn how to modify these foods properly for safe swallowing while still ensuring that it tastes great. And yes. What we do initially is we do a quick taste test. So we already have the food prepared. We did a McDonald's hamburger, and we did one that was minced so that they could see what it was like, and we did a puree. And of course, there's this big thing, and just keep this in mind because we're going to talk about it later. It's like people have such an aversion to puree, and I get it, but think about it. We all eat puree. We had puree dessert. We had puree soup. We eat puree on occasion, so keep that in mind. This was a fun way to get things started, though. Then we had our little competition. So we fashioned this after the TV show Chopped, if you're familiar with that. And we would get a bag, and we would put some food into that bag, and each team would get this meal from the mystery bag, and it would either be a breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And it would have the consistency in it as well that we wanted them to make. And then we brought pantry items, which you'll see in a minute, for them to use and share and doctor up their food, and they had about 30 to 45 minutes to make their meal.
Okay, I'm going to walk you through some pictures of our workshop. So this is our kitchen space, also known as the lunchroom, and we're really fortunate where we work. We have this lovely room that we can use, and we have like a ton of microwave space. We have like fridges. We have a lot of room for just having space to move. This is our pantry. You may recognize this from Carrie and Shamim's house. These are all items that we bring with a big suitcase that we unload. Our colleagues are always like, what is happening in this room and how can I come? But we try to have an array of different seasonings. We try to have like different condiments. The one thing to remember is always bring butter and salt. Yeah. This is the mystery bags that Carrie was mentioning. So we kind of decide like, okay, what do we feel like, what do we think people are gonna do? So it always tells them like what the consistency is gonna be, what meal it is. It's either breakfast, lunch, or supper. And we always try to encourage them to be as creative as possible. This is a picture of our participants just kind of during the competition cooking away. And then we have the judging. So we have been really fortunate in that Carrie and I judge. I don't know if that's fortunate or not, but we do. And we get we've had the pleasure of getting mystery judges. And our past one, we got if any hockey fans out here, but we got the Edmonton Oilers play-by-play announcer, Jack Michaels, to come volunteer his time and be one of our judges. And he was fantastic. He got really into there. And you'll see a little on the side there, that's my son. And I'm gonna do a little shout out to my youngest because she will be mortified if I don't mention her. So on the count of 3, I want everyone to say, hi, Zainab. 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Zainab.
Thank you very much. She will be thrilled. So with the judging, that picture on the left there is like all of the finished products that they all came with. And so we judge based on taste, if the texture is appropriate, and the appearance. And some of the lessons that we learned is basically there's a lot of anxiety related to this. And so, we have to really encourage, tell people taste as they go along. And like Carrie said, people are very hesitant to try. So it's just, you try to not to put too much of a spin on the competition.
Okay. And lastly, some possible challenges. I was anticipating that if I was you and I was sitting there going, I can't do this. I don't have a kitchen. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. That's okay. We know there can be possible challenges, whether it be budget, space, time, staffing, all that, all the cleanup. What I really hope you take away from this is maybe you can do a workshop like this, or maybe you just go back and go, I know how I can explain some of these modifications better to my patients, and I'll even show them. I could even tell them to try something with the extra juices, or we hope you've learned a little bit from today, and that you found it helpful. Takeaways: you can puree almost anything. Consider a short education session if you can't do the big workshop, and like we said, think outside of the box. And you want to do that?
We also want to really thank the ALS Canada Travel Fund for bringing us here, the ALS Society of Alberta for doing advertising for us, and our KC ALS Clinic for also providing funding and always supporting the crazy ideas that Carrie and I come up with. There's 18 years of doozies there for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
So thank you. That's really fascinating. You talk about kind of textures and how they look visually. Do you ever use molds in your work?
That's a very good question, because we've been talking about it. The challenge with molds is sometimes they're really expensive, and there's not a mold for everything, right? So we have been thinking about that, but then it also sometimes, this is personally my bias, sometimes that also makes it look kind of hospital-y food and not real food. So it's certainly something to consider for sure.
Oh, thank you. Are there any questions? Oh, there is one online there.
Are we doing the online first?
Yep, yes, please.
Thank you. So Sue Nelms from the MND Association in the UK has asked, or is asking, do you produce a booklet with all the information that you've just shared?
I wonder if this person means for colleagues or like a patient handout. Maybe patient handout? All right, patient handouts, yes. We do have patient handouts based on the various food consistencies, textures. What else?
One thing about that handout that we discovered with this workshop is that it's wrong. So, we didn't do anything, we had nothing to do with this handout, but it's the patient education that we've been giving out for years. And during our last workshop, we were like, why is the puree so thick? What is going on? And then we were just doing the evaluation and we realized, the actual handout that we've been giving says just put 1 tablespoon of water.
That's it.
And that's it. And we were like, uh-oh. Now we figured out what's happened here. So we do have patient educations, but I think we have to edit them.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that question.
And there's one question there.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much for your experience. And in Italy, food is really important. And so we have done a similar experience.
Awesome.
We have asked to, I think, the most famous chef in Italy, and we collected a book of recipes.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if they did the same you have done, but
With the pizza.
Exactly. But at the end, the result is very good, and I'm really glad to share with all of you the link eventually.
Thank you.
of
Would
all
love
the
that.
recipes, so you can taste also
Thank
Italian food eventually.
Yes, thank you. Fabulous. Wouldn't this be fun if we could do an international cook-off, right? Kenya?
Yes, good idea.
Carrie and Charmaine, Jen DiMartino from ALS1. Just wanted to comment that if you guys don't have a podcast, you should. And I mean that I mean it seriously, because there's two parts to this. My dad is going through something similar, not ALS, but we've recently had to do some pureed foods, and you also have a way of delivering it. And I can tell you that when speech therapy came in to talk to my dad when we were at the hospital, the delivery was poor. And it did not get anyone excited about it. It just made things worse. And so I think the way that you're approaching this is really great, and you just bring a lot of joy to a situation.
Thank you so much. That is,
Thank you.
it's like
And
you're
I think
reading our
that's-
mind.
Yeah. I think. Sorry. No, I think we're running out of time, but I think that's a really very positive note to finish on, if that's okay. And you two can catch up.
Thank you.
So next, I'd like to invite Deirdre to come up. We're Deirdre Murphy, and she's going to be talking about spasticity management in ALS and PLS, including the role of botulinum toxin.
Thanks very much. So my name is Deirdre Murray. I'm a physiotherapist at the Motor Neuron Disease Clinic in Beaumont Hospital in Dublin. And I stood on this side of the stage to get as far as possible away from my Irish colleagues who plan to heckle me throughout the entire presentation. So I'm here to talk about spasticity, so just one of the myriad of challenges that our patients can encounter on their journey. And if we look at the actual definition of spasticity, it's a motor disorder characterized by a velocity-dependent increase in the tonic stretch reflex. And you can see there that you've got this classic presentation where if you move slowly, the limb has a good range of movement, but when you do a fast movement, you get that fast catch. Now, this lady doesn't have ALS or PLS. This lady has MS, and this is what you see as a very classic presentation when you assess in a patient like that. And our PLS and ALS patients aren't always as clear as that when you do a bed assessment. What we're dealing with a lot of the time is assessing a hypertonia, so an increase in tone that is probably most apparent during function, actually, rather than during a physical assessment. But it's always important to remember that you've got a neural component, so that's driven by the nervous system, and then you've got the biomechanical component. So just because of immobility and inactivity, you can have just muscle stiffness that can develop that you also have to manage. In our MND patients, there are this ALS, generally spinal onset patients that present with a mixture of upper and lower motor neuron symptoms, so our progressive muscle weakness with some spasticity of varying degrees in different patients. But most often it's the PLS patients that are much, much fewer, and we don't see as many of them. But these are the people that really present with quite significant and profound spasticity that leads to a long, long period of dealing with significant levels of disability. If we look at the evidence and the guidelines, the European guidelines recently have recommended that you need to start with your non-pharmacological interventions for spasticity, so physiotherapy, exercise, etc. And that's mainly what we would be focused on as health and social care professionals, OTs, physios generally. But then you can use the pharmacological interventions, so cannabinoids, baclofen, things like that, and things like botulinum toxin if needed. And the Canadian best practice guidelines, since this is where we are, and they're also very recent, similar kind of recommendations there that you can use stretching, but a low level of evidence. There is a kind of just maybe consensus around using the pharmacological interventions, and that there isn't sufficient evidence for using things like intrathecal baclofen currently. So the question is, just because somebody has spasticity and presents with it, why should we treat it? So you don't always have to treat it, and that's a really important aspect of making a management plan. And particularly physiotherapists and occupational therapists are very well placed in the decision-making process as to whether we actually need to treat this spasticity or not. So if the spasticity is causing difficulties with function, mobility, skin breakdown, hygiene issues, and pain and discomfort, they would be the types of indications for actually treating the spasticity, but always bearing in mind that sometimes spasticity can be useful. So if you've got extensor spasticity in your legs that allows you to stand and transfer despite weakness that you also have there, then it would be wrong to treat that and to possibly make function worse. So we're very, very well placed as the people who are doing these kind of hands-on mobility and function assessments to be the ones that would guide decision-making around whether we intervene or whether we kind of are happy with the status quo. So overall, with spasticity management, it needs to be multidisciplinary, it needs to be multifaceted and goal-orientated, and that's very, very important that we're developing goals as to what it is that we're trying to achieve by coming up with an intervention. In Ireland, because we're a small country, we often piggyback on all the hard work that happens over in the UK, and we would refer quite often to things like the NICE guidelines, and this management algorithm comes from spasticity management for adults that was developed in the UK, so the RCP guidelines, and is a really useful algorithm to guide an intervention. So this is something that I would recommend looking at if you're not familiar. And it starts with the basics, so your physical interventions, so the bread and butter stuff that physios and OTs would do, and that's your starting point. Things like if you've got exacerbating factors, so if you've got somebody who's got discomfort or pain, issues with clothing, a leg bag, pressure sores, constipation, all of those kinds of things, before you go crazy with pharmacological interventions, you need to make sure that you've got all these things sorted first. Really basics around positioning. So I'm not sure if I have the best pictures there. I probably have a few OT colleagues in the audience there who are not very impressed. And some of this is obviously targeted towards stroke, but you get the idea. Positioning is so important. Other types of simple interventions then that we can use are things like splinting and casting. So, I mean, I would rarely cast one of my ALS patients, but certainly the simple off-the-shelf splints or modified hand splints, prafos to maintain range of movement at the ankle and things like that are very useful. And then exercise. So exercise, as we've heard earlier today, is so important and should always be figured out as to some level of exercise that the person can do that may be beneficial to help to keep their range of movement, keep their strength, manage spasticity. The evidence is very limited, but we do have some indications that things like using these kind of active-passive trainers are found beneficial by patients. So the Meyer in Germany did a very pragmatic study where patients were using active-passive trainers and they just asked them, do you think that it is helping you? So the majority felt that it eased the feeling of having rigid limbs, or it reduced the sensations of muscle stiffness. So in the absence of being able to do a randomized controlled trial and something like that, I felt that was a very pragmatic way of assessing the impact. So this type of thing is really important. Pedaling is really nice for lower limb spasticity. Stretching is generally accepted as being important and is kind of always the first go-to that's referred to as regards to treatment. But we don't really know the dose duration, the ideal situation. We do have some evidence that stretching in combination with botulinum toxins is beneficial more than just botulinum toxin on its own. So stretching is always a good idea. Once you've kind of got all of your basics in place and you've maximized those, then you do start having to think maybe about some pharmacological interventions and discussing the need or the role for these with your medical colleagues. And I would often, I suppose, initiate these conversations in our clinics with our doctors as to, maybe adding in a little bit of a pharma treatment would be helpful for our patient. So if you've got a very generalized spasticity, the kind of go-to are things like baclofen, tizanidine and things like that. Unfortunately, we don't have any access to Sativex in Ireland because we're not allowed any kind of cannabis at all, so it's different here. The key thing with these medications is that you need to start low and go slow, because people can have side effects, people can feel a little bit weak, people can feel fatigued, and you just need to very carefully titrate up and down and consider a mix of drugs. And again, if you're the physiotherapist or the occupational therapist and you're maybe in more frequent contact in assessing patients, you might be a well-placed person to initiate the conversations with your medical prescribing colleagues as to any titrations to these medications. There has been one small study looking at intrathecal baclofen in people with PLS. It's not currently supported in the guidelines, and I haven't actually met a patient from our clinic who has had an intrathecal baclofen pump, but it is something that if you've got very severe regional spasticity, so very severe bilateral lower limb spasticity, is something that you could consider. And what can be helpful if you have a focal spasticity, so that's a spasticity in a particular muscle or muscle group that is causing particular problems that you can target with a functional goal. This is something that can be quite helpful. So this is very widely used in stroke and MS, limited evidence in ALS and PLS patients. There's different kind of preparations of botulinum toxin, and very little evidence in our ALS, PLS patients. So we've got kind of two kind of small cohort studies there that found improvement. So it's probably a little bit different in different countries around the world, but in the UK and Ireland, as a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist, you can do advanced practice training and you can become an administrator. In the UK, they can prescribe as well. We can't prescribe in Ireland, but I did some additional training so that I could administer botulinum toxin. And I suppose the motivation for that is that we like, when we identify a need in our patients in our clinic, we want them to get it as soon as possible. We don't want to be referring them off to another service where there's, a 6 or 7 month wait. That's no good. If we decide somebody needs something, we want to have control of it ourselves and we want to do it now. So I have a very small little cohort of our patients that if they're identified as being somebody who may benefit from administration of botulinum toxin, I can do it in our clinic. So I had to do a load of extra training. And when you've been a physio, as I was 10 years ago, and I trained this for 15 years, and you have never done any kind of sticking needles in anybody, it's a bit of a heart attack to suddenly turn around and start this is what you're doing and all the risks associated with it. So I've just got a couple of case studies then of the types of patients that would kind of go this route in our clinic, and hopefully the video works again. So I've got a couple of videos here of people who have adductor spasticity. So this is really, really common. One of those cohort studies purely focused on this adductor spasticity. This gentleman has spinal onset ALS with quite a lot of lower limb spasticity. His adductors, you can see the scissoring gait are a particular problem. This lady is much more mobile than he is, but has that significant adductor spasticity. It's very annoying for her, like her legs are crossing with every step. And this gentleman here is kind of more, he's weaker, he's further down the line, and you can see he's so weak around his hips, but the adductor spasticity is very problematic for him. So as a kind of a case study, there was so many examples of the adductors, I put loads of videos in, but I'm going to talk about the lady with the white trousers, who was quite a bit more mobile. So her problem was slow walking speed, her legs were crossing, lots of effort associated with walking. Our outcome measures were we measured gait speed and we measured her abduction range of movement. And the goals were that we were going to try and get a little bit of an increase in her walking speed, get a subjective increase in her ease of walking, and improve her ability to stretch her adductors easily. So there was 100 units of Botox administered to just her left adductor. So we'd like to kind of start with the minimal amount of muscles and the smallest dose that we think we'll get away with and take it from there rather than going mad. And then the follow-up was adductor stretching, hip and glute strengthening, a little bit of gait re-education. So the outcome of that was that she felt a reduction in the effort of her walking, her gait speed increased a little bit, not quite the 10%, but not far off it. She was managing her stretching very well, her range of movement in her abduction increased by about 10 degrees, and she was happy then at the 4-month mark when the toxin had worn off, that she was keen to kind of try again and maybe add in the other leg and try, so you kind of take it incrementally like that. Now, the audio may work on this, so if it doesn't, I'll talk through it. But
Here we have a
So
foot
this
and
is-
ankle that has quite severe calf and tib post spasticity. So from the point of view of the calf, there's a lot of loss in range of movement. We bring it into midline, probably at about minus 40 degrees there. There is some clonus in the calf, and you can see the way that it rests, pulling into inversion. So that's tib post overactivity as well as weakness in the everters. And you can see that there's also some clonus there in tib post.
So quite severe calf and tib post spasticity there. And the problems for that gentleman were that he had very painful calf spasm, disturbing his sleep, difficulty getting his feet positioned on the footrests, difficulty getting comfortable position in bed. His ankles were painful because he was pulling so much into inversion. We measured his spasm frequency, his pain, his ability to position his feet on the wheelchair, ankle range of movement. And the goal was to, really the main goal for him was that he would get a good night's sleep with it. I mean, there's enough reasons to be woken at night without being woken with calf spasm. So he had some botulinum toxin to both calves and to that left tibialis posterior that was really pulling in and causing problems. He had an off-the-shelf Prafo that he was tolerating for about 3 or 4 hours, and an A60 splint, so a really light, simple little splint that just kind of helped to maintain his ankle a little bit more in midline when he was wearing his shoes and sitting in his chair. So the outcome of that about 6 weeks afterwards was that his spasms were completely gone. So this is a really, really effective intervention for this type of calf spasm. He wasn't waking up because of spasm. He was much more comfortable in bed, and he felt his feet were better positioned on the footrests. And then at the 4-month mark, he was very keen to come back. He was looking forward to his visit where he got more needles stuck in him. This is a really nasty example of an unusual pattern of spasticity in this person's wrist. I think the video should work there now in a second. So terrible swan necking of his fingers, and most of this was being driven by his wrist flexors. So this was a very painful wrist, difficulty getting his arm through a sleeve. So every time somebody tried to dress him and get his arm through the sleeve, it was really painful if there was any movement there. So we measured wrist range of movement. The goal was to improve the resting position, make it possible maybe to apply some kind of a resting splint and improve that pain during dressing. So we targeted those wrist flexor muscles, and he had a moderate improvement in pain during dressing. So the conclusion really is that healthcare professionals, especially physios and the OTs that do a lot of this kind of hands-on assessment, are very well placed to guide spasticity management. Goal setting and being very clear about the reason for treating the spasticity is very important, and it's very important to evaluate the outcome of your intervention. So I just want to say thank you to my M&D team in Beaumont Hospital who's refrained from heckling me, and the patients who agreed for the videos to be used for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I was really just sitting there paying attention and was like, oh, I'm supposed to go up there. Because I just thought it was such a fascinating presentation.
Thank you.
So let's see if there's any questions out in the audience.
I think everyone just wants to go home maybe now. It's hard to be second last.
Her teammates don't have questions for her? So when you're doing, where? Oh, all the way over here. Just yell, Katie, yeah. Sarah.
Okay. I'm wondering, sorry. I saw a poster at Neil's where they're using TENS to manage spasticity, and I'm wondering if you've done that.
No, I haven't used TENS. TENS, you'd use it for pain management, certainly. So if there was some pain associated with the spasticity, TENS would work. Sometimes in stroke, you would use more electrical muscle stimulation in the opposing muscles, maybe to kind of attenuate spasticity a little bit. But really, TENS would be just for comfort and pain management. I don't think TENS would be great for really getting rid of those nasty spasms. I don't think so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? When you do the dosage of the Botox, how soon after that do you start the stretching and all the therapy? Like right away that day within a...
Yeah, so I mean, well, what we were taught anyway was that if once you inject the Botox, it's good to get the limb moving to try to get, because what you want is that the toxin disperses within the muscle. So to try to make that happen, you want a little bit of movement, and people would just start stretching and doing whatever pretty much straight away. There would be no reason to wait, really. So yeah, you want the toxin to disperse where you want it to be, and then you'd kind of reassess at typically 6 weeks is the point where you're going to be at max effect to know whether you achieved your goals and you got the outcome that you wanted, and whether you should, titrate up the dose or add in a different muscle and things like that. Yeah.
There's an online question.
Sorry about that. Online question from Timothy Shea from Calvary Healthcare Bethlehem in Australia. He says, great talk. Do you ever inject for spasticity in the neck, e.g. resulting in the head dropping to the side?
I personally haven't injected necks. I'd be a little bit like, I am just the physio. I kind of like to stick with the arms and legs until I'm building up my confidence a little bit more. There'd be a little bit more risk with injecting necks because toxin can disperse around a little bit, and there can potentially be impact on a swallow. I have had one MS patient a few years ago that was injected by a medical colleague and lost her swallow after having, now he put in a much bigger dose than I would ever have put in, to be honest, but into her traps, and the swallow was gone the next day. But so I'm a little bit more wary of the neck, but we have had a patient that we sent to the kind of spasticity clinic that for more complex patients, that it was for kind of a neck that was flexed to the side, very painful, really difficult to manage neck. And again, they decided not to inject it, but we actually ended up managing that man's neck tightness and spasm with kind of really simple measures like heat, positioning, massage, and actually that kind of settled it adequately for him without going the toxin route. But I mean, it would be an option, but I'm not brave enough to do that myself.
Hi.
Humanji?
Hi, I'm
Where are you?
here. Yeah. So,
Oh, back there.
so my question is, how often do you inject? How often?
How often?
How often? Typically 4 months. Yeah, it tends to last for 3 to 4 months, and I like to ideally wait until about the 4-month mark, because I want, when my patients come back to me, I want them to say, yes, I noticed it wearing off, I can see a difference, I really want it again. So, you know, if you re-inject at the 3-month mark, you've probably got a little bit of still of the effect from the previous one, and every single time somebody comes, we reassess and make sure that this is definitely indicated still, because the last thing you want to obviously do in ALS, MND, or even PLS is to be injecting a muscle to weaken it when it's not needed. So you're quite careful that somebody definitely still needs it.
All right. All right. One more question, then we're going to have to move on.
Hi, Ileana Howard from Seattle, Washington. I want to say thank you for the talk. We know that spasticity is very common and one of the most undertreated symptoms. It's something that we can treat to improve comfort and quality of life for our patients. Just 2 quick comments. One, in our clinic, we use intrathecal baclofen pumps for patients with upper motor neuron variant or primary lateral sclerosis, and it's life-changing for those patients. So I find that to be a very useful tool. And the second one, for medication management, I would just add benzodiazepines. We don't use them a lot for our other patients, but in patients who may have more than one symptom to manage, including spasticity, a low-dose benzo can be very helpful as well.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Thank you. And it's very interesting about the intrathecal baclofen, because I mean, there just isn't that much in the literature about it, and certainly the Canadian guidelines say that there isn't enough evidence at the moment. But we actually have a lady, an inpatient at the moment, and they're going to put one in because there's nothing else that's really adequate for her. So it's definitely there as an option. Yeah.
All right. And do you have after videos for some of those people? After videos? You have the before video. Do you have after?
Yeah, the problem was having to have it all uploaded by the 4th of November. So.
We blame Jess. All right, thank you so much. All right, there's been a group over here paying no attention, taking pictures and photos of themselves. Yeah, so they're next, whoever they are, whoever these people are. Our next presentation is the Pass It On Project, an innovative approach to collaboration. I'd like to introduce, we're supposed to be here in like order, Allison Balott, Jennifer Bedford, Melinda Kavanaugh, and Sarah Solomon, and apparently Mindy Bailey snuck up here too.
Mandy. Hi, everybody. Look, we made it. We're at the end, and we're so excited to be here. And we've heard for the last few days all about how important connecting with each other and communication and collaboration is. So we're super excited to be here. I have an ask of you. May I please have 10 minutes of your time? Put away your phones, close your laptops. The email can wait just like 10 minutes. And be here in this moment with us because we're really excited to share with you what we've come up with, and we've never rehearsed it, and we changed it at the last minute, and there's a high probability something's gonna go wrong and you don't wanna miss it. So if you're here with us. So if I haven't met you yet, my name is Allison, and I have this really unique place in our ALS community in which I lost my husband to ALS in 2016, so I had a front row seat to the ALS experience, but also for the last 8 years, I've worked in ALS clinical research, and I know what you go through on your end and how much it takes to support families like me. So this whole crazy thing started last year in Switzerland at this exact meeting, and I was sitting there and I started feeling like torn because I was listening to all these great presentations about all these great programs, great projects, great brochures, great guidelines, and we are tracking this and we are tracking that, and our metrics say this, and I started thinking like the clinical research side of me is like, yeah, that's statistically significant. That is good. And then the other part of me was like, please stop doing that. Please stop doing that. Why can't we just all talk to each other? I don't need a 12-step program. I need you to listen to what I'm saying. So I started listening very closely as I was having conversations and watching presentations, and I decided to pick out the craziest speakers, the people who really thought outside the box, and to start asking them, hey, could we change this conversation somehow? And so I want to show you what I really want to show you what we did, but I can't because it won't forward. Oh, there we go. Wait.
Came back up?
I can. So this is us, and the reason I show you us is I want you to know that we actually do have some qualifications. We're educated, we have experience, we are smart and can hold our own. We can stand on our laurels if we need to, but we decided not to do that. Instead, I cornered Sarah in the ladies' room in Switzerland. I'd never met her before, and I knew right after her talk she was the craziest one there, and I had to get to her. So I waited, and I saw her run to the ladies' room, and I waited patiently, and she came out, and I said, please take a selfie with me because you don't know me, but I'm gonna email you, and I want you to remember who I am. And that is the exact selfie that I put her through. And we all started talking, and I said, can we change this conversation? And they're like, well, how much money do we have to do it? I'm like, we don't, nothing, absolutely zero. And they're like, yeah, that's perfect, let's do it. Our plan was hatched. And we pivoted. We left behind everything we learned in school, everything about tracking and metrics and project management and all that. And we just decided that we were just people, and as people, we were gonna change the conversation going forward. And if you have a chance to look at this or you see it online, you'll notice there's a theme of food and alcohol through who we are as people. I did not know that. But I had them all say one word that described them, and like A+ for self-awareness on this homework there. So we have this great team. And we thought, what if we did this? What if we talked to our people who talk to their 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 people, then suddenly we're all just talking and we're solving the world's problems, right? So how do we do it? We wanted to show you visually how we actually see this working. And we've never done this visually, so please be open-minded and creative.
I'm having a pretty rough day, so I think I'm gonna give my friend Allison a call.
Hey, Mandy.
Hey, Allison. I'm having some problems. My stepdad's having a hard time eating. I don't know what to do. Help me.
Yeah, you know, I experienced that too. If you're okay with it, I have a really good friend named Jen in the UK, cool accent. Can I give her a call?
Yeah.
And have her call you? Okay, cool, thanks.
Hey, Alison, good to hear from you. Mandy, it's Jen.
Hey, so I'm having trouble getting my stepdad to eat, but you know, it's also really been hard on my kids to see this happen. Do you have anybody that can help me with that?
I know just the person. I'll hand you over to my friend Melinda.
Hello? Hey, Melinda. So my kids are having a hard time because my stepdad is cranky. He's a smoker. He can't smoke right now. How can I get the crankies away?
I know exactly who you should talk to.
Nice.
Let me give my friend Sarah a call.
G'day, mate. This is Sarah from Australia here. What can I do for you?
Hey, Sarah. So I'm having some trouble. What can I do to help my stepdad?
Yeah, well, I'm an occupational therapist and I love helping people smoke because, you know, I'm helping people do what they want to do. I don't really care what that is, so I can help you make a little gadget.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. You know what? I'm going to call my friend Jill and check in with her. Jill, how are you doing today?
Hey, Mandy. I'm not doing too well. It's been an awful day. My husband's having trouble, the kids are having trouble. Let me tell you, the dog is having trouble.
Oh,
is
my
there
gosh.
any way you can help me out?
You come on up here, girl. I have a world of support waiting for you.
That's awesome.
Perfect. So right now, I want to ask you guys, before I show you how we did this, if you're able to, if you know any one of us on this stage in any way, shape, or form, will you stand up? Stretch your legs. So look around the room, and within 30 seconds, look at the net of compassion and resources and communication and support that we just gave Mandy and Jill by just knowing each other. So thank you. You can sit down, and we're going to show you how we're actually doing this in real life, even though that was brilliant actress skills, you guys, like brilliant. And I'm going to turn it over to Mandy, and Jill, you can have her seat. And green button, apparently.
Green button, good to know. Hopefully, my technology skills will be as good as my acting. So we created this website that we wanted to use as our kind of launch pad. Let's see. And this is the Pass It On Project's website. What we have here are a bunch of bubbles, right? Those bubbles are going to shift and change depending on who's enrolling, who's registering with the project, who's adding in their information. So I'm a very visual person, so I'm excited to see how these bubbles grow and change and how this visual evolves over time. It's a new project, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start changing it around. We may end up making this available to search through the different subjects. If you have a question about respiratory issues, we're gonna have a place for that. If you have issues with social work, let's find a bubble for that. People from all over the world are going to be able to connect and share the resources. And they're also going to be able to host their own chats and pass on their own information. So people who register for the Pass It On project, not only do they get access to our private Facebook page, but they're also going to be able to host their own Zoom meetings, share this information around the world. And we've already had several great conversations with people that have seen the value of this and seen how that they can use this website and this project to expand their own services for the people that they serve in their own communities. So here is our Pass It On Project QR code. We pass those around, me and my partner Jill, today. So please feel free to scan that QR code, register for it, and once I get back home to my computer in Florida, I will be getting everybody set up so we can start passing it on and making a difference.
There's also lots and lots of cards on all the tables with this QR code on it, so feel free to find them.
And sticky notes, yeah?
Sticky notes.
Yes.
Give the sticky notes. The
Pass it
challenge
along.
is give your email on a sticky note to someone that you want to connect with after this conference.
Yes, and I should add that this is a tool that we've created for healthcare providers. We want you guys to have a space to talk, to communicate, to share your ideas, because there's so many great ideas that you guys are having. We can't keep it to ourselves. We have to pass it on.
Yeah, so here. So I think this is obviously rolling out as it's really just come out of our brains. But interesting what happened already is that Sarah Feldman will see her colleagues there. She reached out to me. They had a new OT starting with them, very experienced OT, but maybe not in the sort of MND ALS world. And Sarah said, well, why don't you contact Sarah in Australia? Like, it really wasn't about funding issues. It was just about stuff. So, like, that was probably 11 o'clock at night for me. And Jen, I know you're watching. Thank you for letting me use your photo. 7 o'clock in the morning for her. We had a great conversation.
And then we got as many people as we could possibly reach out to. We sent out emails just to everybody we could think of and said, hey, join us for a Zoom call. Like, just everybody get on the Zoom and we want to brainstorm. Will this work? Is this just some wild, crazy idea that we have? What would it look like? What are your suggestions? And we actually did it twice. So the first one was what you see there. There were 5 countries represented. And yes, I did post that on the internet. Holy crap.
Yes, it was 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm in my pajamas.
Most powerful group of ALS MND women, not intentionally, but it just happened to be all women. And we brainstormed and we said, what does this look like? How can we do this as a group? Then we did a second one where I think Philip, are you out there somewhere? Kenya, Philip joined us. And it was just fantastic because we wanted people who were in the very early stages of creating any sort of organization or any sort of support to be on that second one. And Philip was just fantastic because he was like, I'm just trying to figure this out. Who can I ask? What can I ask of different people? And we said, this is exactly what we want. You and people like you who are starting new organizations to join us.
I'd just like to spot the girls from the Stan Cassidy Centre there. What did we say we were going to do after this conference? We organised, I can't remember the name that we said yesterday.
Wisdom and
Wisdom and wine. So I was kind of teasing this out a little bit to see if they'd be open to it, because when we were talking last night, the challenges that they're experiencing are similar to ours, but we were sharing some like amazing ideas. And I was like, I want my team to know your team. And so we were like, yay, let's swap numbers. And we're going to sort out a wisdom and wine Zoom session. Nothing like a bit of peer support from across the equator.
And the only rule that we have, and we are not tracking anything statistically, we are not keeping track of anything, we have no strategy. The only rule we have is everybody has to drink out of a coffee cup if you have a drink, and nobody can ask what's in it, because it could be any time wherever that person is.
So you can see why I've been banging on now about connections and like give people your emails, and why I've been taking like selfies of the people that I meet so I can remember who they are. So now you see my strategy. So this is it.
No, it's me.
That's Jen.
Yeah, it's me.
Bring it on, Jen.
Oh no, we haven't finished. This is it. This is the next bit.
This is the ask, is to join us, really, is to be part of this. As my colleagues have said, there are cards on your table. Take the QR code down, pass it around, accost each other in the toilets and take pictures if you really want to. However it works for you, just make connections and make sure you get those emails, and let's get this working.
Yep. Thank you so much. We look forward to talking to as many people as we can. Thank you, guys. We should have wrapped.
No, you'd have to stay here for questions, people. You're not done yet. You may hang on to your phones. Well, Sarah gets to keep that phone now. Any questions from the audience? They want to know where you.
Allison got them.
Anyone on the chat?
There's a question in the corner there, Sarah.
What?
To the right. To your right.
To my right. There we go.
This is a great idea. I'm really excited by it, but I think that as terrific solutions or solutions are suggested, it's a little bit of a loss if it isn't recorded and maintained for posterity, because you'll be reinventing the wheel all the time.
So, yeah, thank you. So part of, so going back to our slide of our budget was 0, and Mandy gracefully, out of the kindness of her heart, helped put together a temporary website, and she's managing it behind the scenes temporarily. We do have some grant requests out to kind of give us the ability to do those things, to be a little bit more structured, to have, instead of just a notification of a Zoom link, we can record it and post that link afterwards. And we do hope to do it. What we did this year was simply try it. We thought, can we bring people together and talk? And we've made so many really great connections where the time zone didn't matter and we were able to help each other. And now we're ready to go to the next step of formalizing just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Down here, online, is it an online question, or is it you, Jess?
Hi. This is a question from Tina Moeller, and I'll just maybe provide a bit of context. Her question is this for ALS patients as well? I know you've talked about being for health professionals, but she specifically wants to know about ALS patients. Please.
Yeah, we really wanted to make this space for allied health and health professionals so that we could kind of bounce ideas off of each other, so that, you know, as we engage with patients and families and caregivers, that it's that kind of professional space, not to be exclusive and not trying at all to say that their voices aren't important, but just something for the professionals to kind of have these communications as we reach out and share with other organizations and folks around the world.
Can we stand behind them so she can take a picture?
And the question about, like, that we're not trying to be all statisticianally up here, right? We will find a way, as Allison was saying, just to confirm that we do want to be able to have a way to kind of compile all of these suggestions in different categories, so they will be made more available at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds great, and I think your ask for everyone, if anyone's interested, to reach out to you guys is perfect.
And each other, using your little Post-its on your chairs or your tables.
You're trying to get a picture.
Oh, I was like, what are you guys doing?
Posers.
Put the other phone. You're crowding me.
All right, while they take that photo then, I think that... All right, while they play up there, this has come to the end of when you get to see Rachel and I on stage. This is our last time for the day, for these 2 days, because we're going to move on to the closing of our presentations after this. But I wanted to say thank you to everyone. I just spent another it went very fast for me. I don't know about you, Rachel, but it went very fast for me. 2 quick days with so much information. I love the way that we mixed in presentations with then some panels, and I just liked the way the whole thing flowed. I hope you all did too. We had talks on education, talks on care, counseling, just across the board. And I really love, and you guys know it now, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'll have to start bringing prizes to people who say that they learned something here, they saw something here, and then they took it back and they then implement it there. That's kind of the whole reason that we have the Allied Health Professionals Forum, is to pass on our knowledge to others.
Well, thank you. And I just wanted to echo what Sarah had said, that this year, more than any year, I think the presentations have come from presentations in the past. And I think everybody who's presented this time may well have triggered a kind of a seed in somebody who's thinking, and we'll be hearing about it next year, and it's going to be so good, and I'm so excited to see you all next year.
Yeah, that's it. So the final section, we have the presentation of the 2024 Allied Health Professionals Award, and to present the award, I welcome up Marcela Santos.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today here. I'm Marcela Santos. I'm the Vice Chair at the International Alliance of ALS-MND. It is my privilege to present this year's Allied Health Professional Award, but first, I'm also here because the color photo this afternoon when we're done is gonna be for teal, blue, or green. So if you do have one of these, you made the cut, so we'll see you after this session. So this year, the International Alliance introduced the Allied Health Professional Award in 2018 to honor individuals dedicated to outstanding care for those with ALS or MND. This award highlights the commitment of sharing expertise, exploring innovative ideas for enhanced patient care, and acknowledging substantial contributions to advancing ALS-MND clinical management. This year, we had many qualified candidates nominated, and there was a tie for the winner. So, rather than choosing between two amazing people, we decided to award two Allied Health Professional Awards. The first winner is Dr. Elisa Apeleva. Since 2013, Dr. Apeleva has been working with ALS-MND communities, locally and internationally, to develop innovative music therapy treatments tailored to the needs of people living with ALS or MND and their families. Her work includes creating therapies that support speech, breathing, emotional health, and social connections. She has even developed special programs for caregivers and families, offering music-based support during some of the toughest times. Dr. Apeleva is a strong advocate for ALS-MND community. She's known for creating the impactful music video, The Last Poem, featuring people living with ALS and MND. This video, released in spring of 2014, before the well-known Ice Bucket Challenge, raised global awareness about this condition. Dr. Apeleva's research has also shown the benefits of breathing and singing exercises for people living with ALS-MND, offering new ways to manage symptoms to improve the quality of life. Her work at the Cambridge Institute for Music Therapy in the UK showed how music-based exercises could enhance speech, swallowing, and cough functions, a significant advance for people in the early and mid stages of ALS. While working as a full-time music therapy in a community hospice, Dr. Apeleva works pro bono to maintain the Music ALS website full of helpful information for people affected by ALS-MND, their families, and the multidisciplinary teams who are interested in therapeutic applications of music. It's a free resource for anyone affected by ALS-MND, full of tips, guides, and research on how music can help. We are so happy to honor her today at the Allied Health Professional Award and bring international attention to the important work she's doing. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us here in person, but she did record a video message, which we will share now.
Hello, my name is Elisa Apeleva. I'm a board-certified music therapist, and I've been working for over 10 years in the international ALS-MND community as a clinician, researcher, and community educator. It is an immense honor to receive this Allied Health Professional Award from the International Alliance of ALS-MND Associations in 2024. And it is a great sign of recognition, very emotional for me. I'm sorry I cannot be there with you today, but to celebrate the occasion, I published in open online access all the completed chapters of my book about music therapy and ALS with some practical advice. And you can find it at alsmusictherapy.org, along with free downloads for music exercises and some science, again, published in open access. I hope this helps. I'm always open for collaborations. Please write to me and I'll be happy to be in touch. I know it is not always easy to be an allied health professional in this realm of ALS, MND, just because it's such a devastating disease with so many needs, with so many changes over time. And I wish you all strength. I wish you all inspiration for this work, which can be as frustrating as it can be fulfilling and joyful. And most of all, I wish to all of us that very soon we find cure for ALS and we are all out of our jobs and find something else to do. Thank you so much.
You see, she did get the memo about the color today. So as I mentioned, we do have 2 winners this year, and the second recipient is Doctora Tatiana Mesquita y Silva. Doctora Mesquita y Silva, yeah, you can clap. I hope I'm not butchering her last name. Doctora Mesquita y Silva has made an incredible impact on the lives of people living with ALS, MND in Brazil and worldwide. As a physiotherapist, Dr. Mesquita y Silva had an extensive knowledge of physiotherapy for individuals with neurological and neuromuscular diseases, including ALS. She's a specialist in hydrotherapy and neuromuscular diseases, theories and techniques in integrative care, and physiotherapy applied to autism spectrum disorder. She also holds a master's in neurosciences and a PhD in health sciences. And if you speak with her, it's clear she's truly a leader in her areas of expertise. Since 2010, she has been the owner of the Aquatic Neurological Rehabilitation Clinic and RNA Home Care Multidisciplinary Neurological Rehabilitation Clinic, LTDA, which both specialize in neuromuscular diseases, rare diseases, and autism spectrum disorder. Dr. Mesquita y Silva has served as the president of the Brazilian ALS-MND Association, ABRELA, and is the current vice president. She has presented to the International Alliance on multiple occasions on the work of ABRELA over the last 2 years. She's also on the board of directors of the Asociação Verde Vida Saúde, a nonprofit started by health professionals who provide voluntary services and activities for people with degenerative neurological conditions. These are hard words for someone's first language is in English. She's also on the board of directors for, oh, I already said that. Yeah, I did. Dr. Mesquita y Silva has consistently shown her commitment to care, education, and advocacy for people living with ALS-MND. This commitment is not only at the clinical level, but also extends nationally through ABRELA and internationally as a delegate to the Alliance. We're proud to recognize her dedication and hard work with the Allied Health Professional Award this year. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but her compliments are an inspiration to us all. Congratulations to both of our winners.
Thank you, Marcella. Just while Julia is getting set up, I'll just say a couple of quick words. Julia and I are going to take you through a quiz, so I hope you've been paying close attention over the last 2 days. Any good program ends with a feedback loop and a little bit of an assessment, so this is your chance to do the assessment portion of the Allied Professionals Forum. So we're gonna put a slide up that's gonna have a QR code, and you are gonna do, for those of you that have used Mentimeter or Kahoot or one of those types of programs, you'll see there's the QR code on the screen, and Julia's gonna take you through. Oh, there's also a link in the chat if you're on FeedLoop. And we'll see who gets bragging rights about paying attention the most to the Easter eggs at the APF.
Thanks, Kathy. Apparently, I'm the games person. My name is Julia. I work for the International Alliance of ALS-MND Associations, and it's been really fun to put all these things together for you. I hope you've enjoyed them. So, this is a very informal, fun little quiz. Probably everybody has a device. If not, pair up with somebody at your table, or make sure if you're noticing they don't have a device, move closer to them so that everyone can participate. And we'll just give the online people, we're all good? Okay, perfect. So you all have made up names, and we're gonna see who's been paying the most attention. Here we go.
We have 106 people playing.
Where is Leanne? Leanne, I'm not gonna attempt to say your last name. Our keynote speaker from. Sorry, Leanne. Okay, who wasn't paying attention to that? Come on, we were starting easy. All right, here we go. What year did ALS Untangled start?
Wow, that's a tough question.
I mean, thank you. Kathy said that's a tough question. You have a 1 in 3 chance of getting it right, though. 2019. All right, so we get to see who's in the lead. Oh, actually, you were able to enter your names. Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Geneviève. Okay, great. Well, there's a lot of people tied for 2,000 points. Well done. In Philippa Sharp's presentation about head and neck supports, what was used on the back of Mr. C's hat? You're not playing.
Yeah.
Magnets. Oh, wow, that one got a 97% positive response rate. Well done. Who is at the center of the ALS steering wheel? All right, the patient, way to go. We're gonna check our leaderboard here. Wow. There's a tight race for first place. How many keys are there to navigate a life-changing illness in hope for the best, plan for the rest? All right, well done.
Wonder if that'll change the leaderboard.
Let's see. According to the Les Turner ALS Foundation, over 60% of bereaved from ALS MND have moderate to high risk of developing prolonged grief disorder. True or false? That is true. Which liquid is less ideal when pureeing food? Oh.
Oops, option 4.
I don't know what that's doing. Please ignore option 4. Water. Guys, I said not to put option 4. Ignore it. That was a typo. All right, who's the winner?
With a number of people tied.
Hold on. Oh, a lot of people with 7,000 points. It's a tie. Well done. Thank you all for playing.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the gamification of the APF, both last night and today. I'm going to invite Kalanit Balas to the stage, CEO of the ALS Association and chair of the Alliance's board, and she's going to give us a sneak peek of what's going to happen next year. Just before Kalanit gets here, I just want to say a huge thank you for your meaningful participation in the Allied Professionals Forum. This, as Kalanit said yesterday, feels like a great big hug, this group of allied health professionals, and I have a lot of gratitude for each and every one of you who work with the ALS M&D community, and I just want to say a huge thank you to you for your engagement the last 2 days.
How did you enjoy the last 2 days? I know it's almost 5:30, but I'm pretty sure we can do better than that. How was the last 2 days of your life? There we go, there we go, good. I have so much to say, but excuse me, I wanted to just grab this quick thing here. This has been quite an honor. And if this was your first time here at the APF or the International Alliance meeting, I'm glad you were with us, and I hope you'll come back next year. So let me start with that. If you've already seen this video, you may enjoy it again. And if you've already been to San Diego, you may come back again, and that's fine. We welcome you to the United States next year, my home country, and I hope you will join us in San Diego in 2025. So when we play the video, we'll go forward from there.
The 2 words that best describe the lifestyle and culture of San Diego, California are laid back. People from around the world travel here to relax, play, and experience the shimmering shoreline, the beautiful backcountry, and everything in between. There is nothing laid back and relaxed about the burgeoning biotech and life sciences industry here. San Diego has become a global hub for some of the most exciting work being done to find treatments and cures for the world's most devastating diseases. The ALS community welcomes you to America's finest city for the 36th Annual International Symposium on ALS MND, coming December 2025. Start making your plans now. The 36th Annual International Symposium on ALS MND in San Diego will be the perfect spot to see the sun set on this devastating disease.
We so look forward to having you in San Diego. The only thing, I can't necessarily guarantee perfect weather, but I'm pretty sure there won't be any snow. So don't plan your parka, pack your parka, and don't pack your boots, but really come and enjoy San Diego with us. We're looking forward to it. I want to give out a few shout outs. This is a lot to put on. This takes a lot of planning, a lot of coordination. It's not just any conference, right? It's a conference where we bring the globe together. We have translation services. We have all kinds of things. So if you could help me give a raucous round of applause to our International Alliance staff and volunteer team, I would really appreciate it, because they work so hard to make this happen. And you know, there were a lot of themes I've heard over the last really 4 or 5 days, is collaboration, not duplicating effort, sharing information, education, not feeling alone. And I hope that you walk away, whether it's your first conference or your 10th conference, not only have you reconnected with people, but you've met new people and you don't feel alone. Make sure you know that walking out of here, that when you get back to your desk and you're frustrated or you're really trying to figure something out, you now got hundreds of people that are willing to help you. I guarantee that's going to happen. And I also want to give out a shout out, because I'm constantly impressed, and Marcella said it when she was giving her presentation. English is her second language. For so many people who got up on this stage, it was their second language presenting. I dabble in a few languages. I guarantee you, I do not want to get on stage and try to speak in a second language. So I think we should give them a round of applause. And I asked Jess to pull a list, because I started to hear different countries that were represented. We know there's the United States and Canada, and then there's some of our friends from Colombia and Brazil. Yeah, that's okay. You can give yourself a shout out. That's all right, right? And Argentina has come back, and we've got, there we go, yep. And Mexico and Italy, right? France, sorry? Denmark, yes, you were on my list. Denmark, Belgium, Iceland, China, India, Australia. How could I forget Australia, right? But there were some, sorry, Peru, Italy. I said Italy. All right. But there were some new countries. Israel, I think, is on the line. But we also had some new individuals and organizations join us. From the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Haiti, Kazakhstan. We are really reaching out far and wide. And if there's ever anyone that you know that might be able or might want to join the International Alliance and the work that we're doing, I know Kathy and Jess and the entire team would be more than happy to take their call. This is a very special community. I hope you feel that you are a part of this family now, if you didn't before. Thank you so much for spending your time, talent, and treasure to be here with us. And I wish you a very happy holiday season and a fantastic new year. Thank you so much.